All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to change your floor plan into a front view. So I'm going to go through really quick, just measure these things out. So I'm going to say that my wall is a 12-foot wall. You are going to draw this prettier than I am. This is just that we can get through this video a little bit quicker. Then my door is a 3-foot door. This wall is a 4-foot wall. Remember, I'm using 1/2-inch scale, so I'm doubling all my measurements. This wall is a 6-foot wall. This chair has a 1-foot measurement on each side. I know that because I just measured it. And my table has, I'm going to round it a little bit, but I'm going to say that this is a 2-foot table, just to make it easy. So now that I have all of my measurements on this drawing, don't forget you're going to label your door too, but we already know that it's 3 feet. You are going to use these measurements to draw your front view. So you're always going to start with your back wall every single time. So if I were to take on my front view, I would measure, I've got a 12-foot wall, so I would just take towards the bottom of my paper and I would draw a 6-inch line. Then I would use my protractor so that I could decide how tall I wanted this wall. I want it to be 90 degrees though, so I'm going to make my marks. 90-degree marks. Then I would want my wall to probably be, let's say I'm going to do a 12-foot wall. So I would bring my 6 inches, because I'm doubling it, remember, 1/2-inch scale, and I would draw on either side. And this would be my 12-foot wall. So because my wall is 12 foot by 12 foot, this is going to end up being a square. Then I would label both of these. Remember, you're going to make it prettier than I am. I'm just going to go a little bit quick. 12 foot. 12 foot. Now, here comes a little bit of the tricky part. You always want to add anything that's on your back wall first. So the only thing that's on mine would be this door right here. And so on this door, I would measure from the side of this corner, so right here, and I would say that marks at my 3/4 inch mark. So I'm going to measure the same thing over here. I'm going to put a little mark. And I know that my door is 3 feet wide, so I'm going to put a mark at my 1.5 inch point. Now that I have my length figured out, I have to figure out how tall I want it to be. So I'm going to put my door as a 6-foot door. And so I would just bring it here. Actually, I would use my protractor first. So I get the 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Then I would measure up 6 feet, which is 3 inches. Notice how I am kind of cutting a little bit of corners because I'm not actually connecting my dots. I'm just drawing up the 3 inches. You can do that if you feel confident, or you can extend your lines and then erase later. So I'm going to erase my 2 little dots that are my guidelines. Then I want to figure out how tall my doorknob is. Since my door swings out this way, it means that my doorknob is going to be right here. So I would want my doorknob to be about halfway up my door. So I'm going to put that at the 1.5 inch mark. And then for this, I'm not going to be super picky. You guys can just kind of color it in as a doorknob. And then there's my door. Next, I would take this table and I would add that in on top of this drawing. So I would say, where on this wall does this table line up? And you can just kind of eyeball it, but you're going to put a little bit of a mark so you can see. So that lines up to right here, which is just my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. That's my 3/8 mark measurement. So from my door, I would put a mark at my 3/8 point. Then I would remember, so my 3/8 point is here from the door. Then I would remember that my table is 2 feet across, which means 1 inch across. And that's going to be how wide my circle part of my table is. I would want my table to just have one stand in the middle. So I would mark right here in the middle. And this is going to be what connects it to the ground. This is the stand that it's on. So I would do my 90 degrees as always. I would decide how tall I want my table to be. For my table, I want it to be probably about, we'll say 3 feet tall. So I would take my 1.5, go right here. This is now how tall my table is. And I can erase the rest of my line. Here's the part that gets a little bit tricky. You have to now just draw a line for where your table is. So I would want my table, like I said, to be about 1 inch wide. And so I would just draw my line here. And from the front, that's all we're gonna see of the table. If you wanted to, you could make it a little bit thicker so you can tell that it's actually a little thicker. You would do this with a ruler, you would not freehand. Same with this, you would do this with a ruler, you would not freehand. Or you can just leave it as that line. So that's gonna be a little tricky because from here we can tell it's a table, but from here it just looks like a T. It's because this is our top, this is our front. Same with our chair. Our chair starts a little bit past our table. So we would take here, we would say our chair starts here. Our chair is 1 foot across, which means 1 inch. I would want my chair to go up a little bit past my table. So I'm gonna put that at 4 feet for the back of the chair. And then for this, I would say I want it to go, let's say to about here. Remember, you will be using a protractor to do this. And then I would connect my chair together. And again, that's all I see from the side of that chair. So that is my chair here. That is my chair here. So they are going to look a little different side by side. Then either on this drawing or on the back of your other drawing, you're going to draw this line. This is your second wall. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do it. If you draw it on the same drawing, you can also, like I said, draw it on the back of this drawing, and that would be fine with me. If you do it on the back, you're going to draw both of these two walls on the back and label them. So for my window is pretty close to that wall. So that's just going to be about 1/4 inch away from the wall. So I would put my 1/4 inch here, and my window is, let's measure it, 2 feet across. So that means 1 inches. So we would put my 1 inch. And for windows, it's a little tricky because they don't actually touch the ground. So for a window, you are just going to want to do your 90-degree mark. 90 degree, and you just want to draw this really lightly. 90 degree. And this is just going to be your guide line for the edge of your windows. So I would draw there. And then I would decide how far up off the ground I want my window to be. I want mine to be about 2 feet off the ground. So I'm going to mark mine at the 1 inch mark. Then my 90 degrees again. Draw and connect. then I would want mine to be about 2 feet tall also. So I would put another mark on my 2 foot, 1 inch mark, 90 degrees, connect the two, and now I have my window drawn in, and I can erase those guidelines. So again, notice how on these two drawings, the windows look very different, but they are still the same exact length. So when I go to measure here, my 2 foot is going to line up with my 2 foot. Same with my chair. My 1 foot is going to line up with my 1 foot. And same with my table. My 2 foot is going to line up with my 2 foot. Same with my door. My 3 foot is going to line up with my 3 foot. And those are going to be in the same place on your walls. Then you would label your walls. This one goes off the page, so I would have my line go off the page, say 6 foot. I would draw another wall over here. Same thing, it goes off the page, so I would just draw here, say 4 foot. Then I would label all of these things with how tall they are. Don't forget to label how tall everything is. So that would be 6 foot. That would be 3 foot. This, you're going to label both of the chair. So you would go, that is 2 foot. That is 4 foot. And you also are going to label your walls. So you would say this is 12-foot wall. Label each of your walls. And then same with your window. Say that's a 2 foot. Again, you're going to draw those labels way more pretty than I just did, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do them quick. So side by side, these drawings would look something like this. So whenever I go and I add them together, I'm going to add my front view like this, and then that's going to become my model. But it's important that your lines line up with each other so that when you create that model, everything is in the right spot. So if I were to fold it and put my top view and my front view together, those lines are in the exact same spot for my walls. Then I can just stand it up, and now my wall is created. As always, if you have questions, you are welcome to email me.